Your Excellency, sir, your leadership style is inspirational, and it is deeply rooted in the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. On assuming office, the President made it clear that economic diversification and inclusivity are paramount to his renewed hope agenda. And the President outlined 8 priority areas to achieve this vision, with priority number 1, focus on reforming the economy to deliver sustained inclusive growth. And priority number 7, focus on accelerating diversification through digitalization and innovation. This resonates with the theme of our conference this year, Innovation for Sustainable Digital Future, accelerating growth, inclusion, and what is the last one? Accelerating growth, inclusion, and I can't remember. Who can remember the last part of it? So don't tell me we all can't remember the theme. Okay. So it resonates with the theme. And today, or every year, we gather for this conference. We are pausing our busy schedule to be here in Abuja for 3 days. Why are we doing this? Is it just to network and see the latest technology gadgets? No. For us, it is because Nigeria is at the critical crossroads. We are a nation of over 220 million people. And the average age is 18 years. So this can be our greatest dividend or our most urgent disaster. If we harness it well, if we harness the energy, the creative and talent of our youth, we are not just going to power Nigeria, but we can power the entire Africa into new era of prosperity. But if we fail to do that, if we fail to skill our youth, if we fail to provide a platform for them to create value, we are squandering the most valuable and precious asset we have as a nation. For us, the answer to this challenge is our collective ambition to bring these youths together, to engage them, to provide a platform for them to showcase their creativity, their talents, and also to give them opportunity to use that to solve our national challenges. This year, in the next 3 days, you will hear many statistics. You learn many new technology trends and how we can shape our worlds. You will engage in high-level dialogues from the main stage to the alpha stage. But for me, the big takeaway from this is we should all go and engage with one thought that guide our panels, our every handshakes we are going to have at this conference, and every deal you will make in this conference. The message is Nigeria, we can do it, and we are going to do it. This year's conference, we have more than 4,800 people attending from 12 countries and from 25 states across Nigeria. That means the conference is national and international as well. The idea is to cross-pollinate between our technology and innovation ecosystem from states and with the international global ecosystem. Our youth don't have to move to Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt for them to succeed. We want them to stay in their state, to use technology to solve their local problems with a mindset of taking their solutions to Abuja, Lagos, London, US, and anywhere in the world. The conference is curated to deliver 12 keynotes, 23 panel discussions, 5 practical workshops, 2 expert master classes. And all this is curated around 5 tracks. How can we build connectivity to connect the unconnected, to make sure every Nigerian is part of this digital economy we are building? The second track is about building our digital public infrastructure as well as trust. How can we build trust for our citizens to use technology? How can we use technology to build trust between government and citizens? How can government leverage technology to engage citizens and deliver quality services to our citizens? We also have a track on artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. How can we harness the power of artificial intelligence to help every Nigerian achieve 3-5x leap in productivity and efficiency in whatever you do? We also have a track on digital trade and innovation, because it is not just about us building technology. It is about us using our greatest resource to harness and grow our economy. How can we encourage our startups to build not just for Nigeria, but for Africa and for the world? And we're also going to have a track on digital skills and literacy. How can we build the digital fluency of our citizens to make sure every Nigerian is digitally visible, every Nigerian is part of this digital economy? And how can we build skills for our citizens to make sure we build our digital offerings in country, as well as to get our citizens to contribute to the global ecosystem? So this is all what we are going to be discussing at the conference. And the government is doing a lot. I'm not going to tell you what the government is doing. The Honorable Minister will be on the stage to share with you what we are doing at the ministry, and the Vice President will tell us the bigger vision for driving the economy using technology. Doing this will help us to build a sustainable growth through innovation in Nigeria. So my advice to all of you, especially the innovators and startups, don't leave this conference without making all the meetings you need to grow your startups. For the investors, don't leave without meeting your next unicorns. For the government officials, don't leave this place without getting idea about how you can come up with the next policy, the next regulation that will help us to use technology to catalyze growth and drive national inclusivity, prosperity among our citizens. Thank you for listening. May God bless you, and may God bless Nigeria.
It's Digital Nigeria International Conference and Exhibition 2025, aptly themed Innovation for a Sustainable Digital Future. Thank you very much, Director General, National Information Technology Development Agency, for your tireless drive to ensure that the digital literacy commitment of this administration is actually pursued and put into practice. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please can we give a more worthy round of applause to my boss, the DG of NITDA. Thank you very much. At this juncture, may I respectfully invite for a goodwill message on behalf of the CEOs and MDs under the purview of the Federal Ministry of Communications, Innovation, and Digital Economy. May I invite the National Commissioner of the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, Dr. Vincent Olatunji, to give us the goodwill message. You are most welcome, sir.
Your Excellency, Senator Kashif Shettima, GCON, the Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria. My Honorable Minister, Dr. Bosun Tijani, CEOs of parastatals under the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, other CEOs here present, industry players, the startup ecosystem, our friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. When Uwa came to whisper to me that we're making a good message, I was not prepared for this. But, you know, MCs, when they have the mic, they can order anybody to do anything. So I had to conquer to our order to give this good message on behalf of all the CEOs under the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy. I think we really need to commend the effort of the federal government of Nigeria, and in particular what NITDA has been doing over the years. Bringing all of us together this morning is not by accident. We should know that Nigeria is on a journey, and it's really important for us to harness the potential that we have in this country. As we speak, globally, there are about 18.8 billion devices that are connected. Whereas we have just about 8.2 billion people living in this world. That means that on the average, each of us will have access through minimum of 2 or 3 devices. What do we do with these devices? Connectivity, businesses, socializing, interaction, and so many other things. That shows the huge potentials in the global digital economy. As we speak, the global digital economy is worth over $24 trillion. And for us to take our rightful position there, we really need to come together to harness what we have as a country. Do we have the potential to lead? The answer is yes. Do we have the resources? The answer is also yes. So what is missing? Coming together, collaboration, interaction, and through such platforms like this, that is the only way we can really evaluate and plan on what we have to be part of global digital economy. According to the World Economic Forum, by 2030, about 92 million jobs will be lost. But the good news is that about 170 million new jobs will be created. Nigeria is a population of about 220 million people. The population of our youth is about 65%. And these guys are tech savvy. The only language they understand is technology. If you remove technology from their lives, we can't do anything. So what do we need to do? Also, through such a platform like this. And that is why the theme of this conference this year, which is all about innovation for sustainable digital future, accelerated growth, inclusion, and global competitiveness. We can only achieve our desired vision through all of us coming together to disturb the status quo, to ensure that things are not done the normal ways that we do it now. It's only through disruption that we can take a rightful position. All of us are aware that Uber, they don't own a single cab, but they've taken over the transport state of globally. Booking.com, they don't own a single hotel, but when it comes to hospitality industry, they've taken over. Amazon, what they do to provide services, they don't have a single good that they serve. But through the power of technology, they'll be able to take over all the world. And all of us here, we sit at the comfort of our rooms, make purchases, share information, and so on. And a lot of things already happening in Nigeria through laws, urban capital development, and so on. Just yesterday, we were at the National Assembly for the public presentation, public hearing of the National Digital Economy and E-Governance Bill, which shows that all the things that we are doing will now be put together as a law for us in this country. And this is the most important instrument that we need for us to make desired impact in Nigeria and globally. And I need to really commend our Honorable Minister, who is leading the charge, a technocrat for excellence, and bringing all of us together to ensure that we do what is right to move Nigeria further. And also, Mr. President, for his belief in the tech ecosystem in Nigeria. Look at all the 8 policy areas of this administration. All of them are to be driven by digital technologies. And it's obvious in what Mr. President did since he came in. In fact, within 2 weeks after coming into power, he signed the Nigeria Data Protection Bill into a law. I think we should give him a round of applause. This shows an administration that understands the powers of technologies, and he knows where we are headed and how we can achieve this using technologies. All we need to do is for all of us to probably understand the vision, know where we are headed, come together, collaborate, cooperate, and ensure that we put Nigeria in a rightful position in the Community of Nations. I welcome all of you, and I say we will have a very successful conference in the next 3 days. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, with your permission, may I specially recognize the members, the gallant men and women of the Nigerian Armed Forces who have come here today to support this noble cause. I recognize and warmly welcome the representative of the Chief of Army Staff in the person of Brigadier General D.H. Ndahi. You're welcome, sir. We also welcome the representative of the Chief of Air Staff, Group Captain B.H. Sani. You're most welcome, sir. We also respectfully welcome the representative of the Inspector General of Police, DCP Francis Oshupon. You're welcome, sir. And on that respectful note, may I, while welcoming you, also invite you to take the last and brief goodwill message. May I respectfully request the presence of Rear Admiral Patrick Effa to take a goodwill message on behalf of the men and women of the gallant armed forces. Please, let's not be stingy with our applause this morning. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, please permit me to stand on the already established protocol. At inception, when protocol was being established, I observed that our compare, maybe not intentional, but she omitted members of the armed forces. And it was strange because we were just seated in front of her. But I think I now understand better that she was saving it for later. Thank you very much. Having said that, it is my pleasure to stand here this morning to give a goodwill message on behalf of members of the armed forces and other paramilitary agencies that are here today. Like my predecessor stated, he was ambushed, and so were we, but we are trained in the act of turning an ambush to our advantage. So on that note, on behalf of the heads of our various agencies, I stand here today to make this goodwill message on this glorious occasion where we are talking about digital economy, and we are beginning to talk about technology, its place in bringing forth various businesses together for the prosperity of our dear nation. For us in the military and in other paramilitary agencies, it is a thing of joy to be here because the discourse has great bearing on us. We understand that technology drives what we do. Technology drives operation, and when you talk of modern warfare, you cannot discuss it without technology. On that note, it is obvious that our interaction today and whatever form of discussion will have great bearing on us and, of course, on the nation at large. When we begin to look at great innovations and the place of technology in our operations. So, what is the link between us and what we are here to discuss, which is basically digital economy? Without a safe and secured nation, we cannot, in the first place, talk about prosperity, neither can we talk about business. And in a bid to emplace a conducive environment for trade and commerce and for the place of technology to strive to bring business and prosperity to our nation, a lot has to be done and a lot rests with us. So I want to thank the DG for inviting us, and also for each and every one of us, for each and every one of you that have made it a point of duty to be here this morning, especially our special guest of honor. On this note, I want to say thank you, God bless, and may we have a fruitful and a rewarding deliberation during these sessions. Thank you.
I usually wouldn't ask for a second applause, but because he represents the armed forces, I applaud him a bit louder for speaking up for that sector. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, several years ago, I had the privilege of serving on a team of consultants for the World Bank, and there was a publication that had shown that if any city in the world would rival the Silicon Valley, it was Lagos. And Nigerians didn't quite know how, but it's actually because of the pioneering work of today's chief host, incidentally. And then years after that, because of the work he had done, Yaba got the name Yabacon. Like you have Silicon Valley. So Nigeria's Silicon Valley is actually Yabacon. Right? And this gentleman sitting right in front of me, an amiable, fine gentleman, is also someone who's put Nigeria on the AI map of the world. I haven't had an applause yet, and I wonder why. So, ladies and gentlemen, I speak of Nigeria's CITO. The CITO of corporate Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, or if I may define it, is the Chief Innovation and Technology Officer of corporate Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, really, I have in front of me, and I need to invite him now, Dr. Bosu Tijani, for a keynote address of this event. A round of applause, loud ovation for him, for the pioneering work he's done in innovation, which is actually part of the theme for this occasion. He's the most suitable person to give a keynote at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Senator Kasim Shatima, GCON, our Vice President. Your Excellency, permit me to quote a very short common saying that says, strong leadership builds nation, while weak ones break nations. I know I've said this to you a few times, but there's never been anything progressive in Nigeria that you do not give your time to. And I think that deserves a round of applause. But on behalf of the entire communication and digital economy sector, I'd like for us to appreciate you and ask that everyone in the room should actually rise with me to give a resounding round of applause to our Vice President. Please join me. Thank you so much. Please sit down, sir. Please sit down, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support, Your Excellency. Thank you. Please, you can sit. Thank you. Thank you for all the work you do. I think the DG also spoke to this. We thoroughly appreciate your leadership. The members of the armed forces present, I'm not going to miss you this time around, of course. Thank you for joining us. The Director General of the National Information Technology Development Agency, Mr. Kashif Inua Abdullahi, let me use you as a point of reference for every other senior government officials present today. The international development partners, you've been a strong support to our ministry for the last 2 years, and I think even before this current administration. We appreciate you for joining us. The members of the diplomatic corps, leaders and captains of the technology and innovation from the private sector, members of the startup ecosystem where I started from, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to Digital Nigeria 2025 as something that I consider to be a dialogue, but also collaboration and action towards building a sustainable, inclusive, and globally competitive digital economy for our nation. Digital Nigeria, for me, is more than just a conference. It is a gathering that I believe reminds us of what digital truly means for our past as a people and as a nation, but also what it means for our present and the future that this current administration is trying to build. This gathering is an opportunity for us to pause, to reflect, and most importantly, to strategize together on how we deliver our shared vision. A vision, of course, that the leadership of the nation is made clear to all of us to be one of prosperity, inclusion, and competitiveness, which must and is being powered through technology and innovation. Historically, for those who may not know, Nigeria's digital story is one of bold reforms and courageous decisions. If you follow our sector, you remember the full liberalization of the telecommunications sector in 1999, which opened a new era of growth for Nigeria. If you're an economics geek and you follow GDP data sets in Nigeria, you see that immediately the sector was liberalized, the growth story of Nigeria actually changed. And we saw consistently from that point an average of about 5% growth in the nation compared to about 3% in almost 10 years preceding this full liberalization. Of course, you can imagine that this was fueled by the connectivity and communication that have refined how people live, work, and connect. And for those who are old enough, I think I'm old enough to remember, before 1999 in this country, only a few families had access to telephone. Only a few families. In fact, if you live in places like Lagos and most of the major cities, to make calls to international destination, you have to go to specific location. I think in Lagos, it was Marina, the NET building. And you have to join the queue to be able to call abroad. So if you're not understanding what I'm talking about, the full liberalization and how it changed this country, I remember I got my first SIM card while I was still a university student when it came out. And those who were part of those who got their SIM card then will remember it was going for, I think, 21,000 naira when I got mine. Today is almost free for those young ones in the room. That was the significant moment that things changed for our country. And if you don't know what this moment means, all I need to do is ask His Excellency to give me the permission for everyone in the room today to submit their phones to us for the next 12 hours. Who will be willing to do so? 12 hours, can I borrow your phones? No, that reaction is the reality. That single policy decision did more than expand access to phones and internet. It gave rise to a new economy, one built on ideas, networks, and innovation. It remains one of the clearest examples of how visionary leadership and enabling digital policy can transform a nation's destiny and unlock prosperity. Before we came in, this sector grew significantly and started contributing anywhere between 16 to 18% to our GDP. Of course, because our team is made up of stellar people at the very top, our dear president and vice president, and they've appointed the best set of teams to run their agency. Our sector is now tracking close to 19% and is going to be surpassing oil and gas very shortly. The impact is feasible. It's not just in numbers. The good example is in financial services, where institutions like the NIBS, the Interbank Settlement System, have enabled Nigeria to build one of the most advanced payment systems in Africa and sometimes in the world. If you live in the US and you speak to people who live there, they will tell you that financial services in Nigeria is oftentimes more quicker than even in the US. There are times you transfer money in the US and the people will have to wait hours, if not days. But in Nigeria, it's instant because of technology. And this innovation and system is now powering what we all know as financial technology revolution, which has produced 5 out of 9 unicorns on the African continent. So the African continent has about 9 technology companies that are worth over $1 billion. And 5 of those companies are from Nigeria. And it's all because of leadership, it's nothing else. In our startup ecosystem, where, of course, I came from, it represents I think many of the people in the room here today, and it continues to attract significant investments and deliver new jobs, products, and innovation that drive national growth. So African countries receive roughly anywhere between 6 to 10 billion US dollars in investment for technology. Nearly 20% of those investments year on year comes to Nigeria. Digital technology is now inseparable from how we live and engage. If you doubt it, like I said earlier, please keep your phone away and you can imagine what will happen. And we can't speak to this again without talking to leadership under the clear and decisive leadership of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and our dear Vice President, this government has taken bold economic reform decisions to restore stability and drive growth. But just as importantly, the President recognizes the strategic role of technology in enabling the growth that we're seeking as a nation, in making our economy to be more efficient, to be more inclusive, and be more globally competitive. If you're an economics geek, you probably know about the Cobb-Douglas production function and principle, which says for you to increase the output of any nation in GDP, GDP is the sum total of all the economic activities in any country, from the farmer to the shoe cobbler to the banks, all the economic activities when you pull them together. And Cobb-Douglas production function speaks to the fact that if we desire to increase it to $1 trillion, for instance, you cannot just do it by increasing labor and capital. You can, but the result you're going to get will be limited. So the Cobb-Douglas production function introduced something that is called technical efficiency, that you have to think of introducing something else that you add to those things so that your output can be big. If you're struggling to get that, think of two farmers with 1 hectare of land each. One chooses to cultivate the traditional way, another one chooses to use tractor, drones, and things like that. You can start to imagine which one will get more output. We must have technical efficiency, which in our context today is driven by technology. And simply put, without technology, we cannot compete as a nation. Let me use an example in agriculture, which I started earlier. This is an area which, alongside my job, I have some familiarity, because when I came into government as a businessman, the only business I can do is to be a farmer. So I decided to cultivate about 340 hectares of land. Nigeria currently averages about 2.5 tons of maize per hectare, 2.5 tons, compared to South Africa, which is doing 5 tons. I had the privilege of visiting Brazil a few weeks ago, and some farms in Brazil are already doing between 10 to 12 tons per hectare. And they're not using GMO. They're using smart technology. They know exactly where they put the seed, so they know where the fertilizer needs to go. And when they apply their herbicide, I saw a special machine that goes into the farm, uses connectivity and sensor to identify what is weed, and dispenses the herbicide directly on that weed. Thereby, they're saving 95% on herbicide use through smart technology. And I can tell you, as a farmer, I was extremely successful this last season. My farm went beyond national average because I've used a bit of technology in it, but I was only able to get 3.5 tons. I still need to invest a bit more. But as I speak to you, I have thousands of maize locked up in my warehouse. I visited a mill in my state a few weeks ago, and what I discovered explained why it was not competitive for me to sell my maize. Because the mill had to buy their maize from the best possible prices in the world. And I saw bags of maize from Argentina and Brazil, because they have to buy the cheapest so that they can help feed our people. The only thing I picked out of it as a leader and someone that is responsible for technology is that we must make technology ubiquitous so that our farmers can also leverage these innovations to improve productivity. We do not have a choice. They cannot compete with the import from this market to feed the mills that require the maize to produce those feed for our animal. And this is the same, if you think about it truly, in security. Our armed forces will put in their very best, but we must also make the best technologies available to them so that they can drive the growth that we want to see. You can think of this in education, in public health. We have a stellar Minister of Health who is changing things significantly for our nation, but we have to provide connectivity to every of our primary and whether secondary and any healthcare facility in this country, for the minister to be able to determine what is going on real time across our country and as such be able to serve the nation. And we know that with artificial intelligence, we now have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reimagine what is possible, from smarter governance to predictive healthcare to agricultural optimization and to digital trade. And this is why, under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in recognition of this reality, the federal government is now investing in foundational digital infrastructure and capability that will define Nigeria's future. Today, Nigeria is leading on a project that is called Project Bridge, which is delivering 90,000 kilometers of open access fiber to connect every part of our country with world-class internet access. From every geopolitical zone to every state to every local government to every ward, you will have a point of presence for fiber-based internet. This is a project that is now being approved by the board of the World Bank and is the largest of its kind in any developing country in the world. In fact, it is the largest in the World Bank's digital portfolio. They've never funded any project to this size. It is why the president is mandated that we must also invest in 4,000 new telecommunication towers, because there are 20 million Nigerians who live in communities without access to any form of telecommunications. Most of these people are in the rural areas, and these are parts of the country where the bandits find easy to hide because it's difficult for the armed forces to be able to track them. Today, that project is now been approved by the National Assembly through the borrowing plan. And in the next 2 to 3 years, all these communities will be provided access to world-class telecommunication services. It is also why we've decided as a nation, through the mandate of the president, that we must create 1 million technical jobs to establish the 3 million technical talent, which is a first of its kind. Globally, there's no country in the world today that is training 3 million technical talents. Absolutely no country. We've started this project in Nigeria. We've done the 1%. We've done the 10%. The president is now mandated that we should set up a fund to be able to complete the 3 million, not just under his leadership, but ensure that Nigeria can continue to train our teeming youth population. I think the DG said our average age is 18. I know the VP will say 16.9 or 16.7. I've heard it from you a few times. So that's the number I tend to use. Also, the National Artificial Intelligence Strategy that we've developed in Nigeria is the first of the kind. Nigeria was the first country in the world to use artificial intelligence to identify Nigerians all over the world who are either researchers or business people in AI. And we brought 120 of them to Abuja to help us craft our national AI strategy, which is now being referenced as one of the best on the African continent. In this administration, we funded 55 AI research projects just to ensure that not only do we determine what we do with AI, but we can also contribute to generation of knowledge in artificial intelligence for the entire world. We're not stopping there. This administration is now preparing the establishment of a data exchange system, which is a framework for interoperability across MDAs to enable secure and seamless data sharing, meaning agencies can now seamlessly share data, but also we can share data with the private sector, helping us to build solutions to many of our needs. And last but not the least, under this administration and in the last few months, and yesterday was the public hearing, we are about to see a first single piece of legislation for the digital economy, which is called the Nigerian Digital Economy and E-Governance Bill. And we're hoping that by the end of this week, this landmark piece of legislation will be signed into law by the president. It will be the first of its kind on the African continent, It will provide the legal foundation for secure electronic transaction and trusted digital economy. Under the leadership of our President and Vice President, we have clarity on how digital technology serves both our immediate needs and our future aspirations, enabling shared prosperity across our nation. We now understand what digital means to our past, and that's connectivity. And to our present is productivity and inclusion. But to our future, we want to make it about competitiveness and sustainability. In closing, therefore, as we open this year's edition of Digital Nigeria, I invite every participant, be it colleagues from within government, folks from the private sector, the academia, and development partners, to use this platform to deepen collaboration and shape actionable outcomes that move our digital economy forward. Let us continue to innovate, to collaborate, and to lead so that Nigeria stands not just as Africa's digital giant, but as global example of how technology can drive shared prosperity. I thank you all for listening. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Please indulge me and applaud the second time truly because it deserves it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Special guest of honor, I seek your leave to take a few seconds to make a few more introductions because of the sectors they represent before we begin to wind down this opening ceremony. I'm happy to announce, and this will be of interest to the DG of NITDA, that the Jigawa State Governor graciously sent a goodwill note, and he sent it. We can't afford to read it anyway, there's no time, but just to ask the gentleman who heads the agency in Jigawa, representing the governor, to please stand for acknowledgement. The Director General, the ICT agency in Jigawa, where is he? Great, that's him over there, thank you. Thank you very much. And then we also had, coming in while the proceedings were on, the Japanese ambassador, Mr. Suzuki Hido. Where is he? Would you wave to the audience? I hope he hasn't left. Anyway, applaud. Thank you, because he came and we had him in our records. And then we do have here also the Executive Secretary, who is actually a collaborator with NITDA, Digital Literacy Program, of the Universities Commission, the Nigerian Universities Commission, Professor Abdullahi Yusuf Ribadu. Please stand and wave to you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming. And that will be it for now. I will have come thus far for the opening. I would save the best for the last. Until this moment, I would ask that we take the vote of thanks before we listen for the special address of the special guest of honor. So it's my pleasure at this time to invite, and this indeed will be for inclusivity. It's important to underscore that point, that we didn't actually discountenance the presence of women in our midst. Two of you had spoken earlier during the interactions before we started formally. And this time, the president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers will, because of her background in the engineering sector, the private sector, come and represent the private sector by giving a vote of thanks for today's occasion in the presence of all of you, dignitaries, and even the vice president who is here in person. Yes, would you please clap as she comes on gently, the pretty lady? I would offer my last 2 minutes for this segment to her. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you indeed.
Your Excellency, Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and an honorary fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON, FNSE, the Honorable Minister, sir, and the DG NITDA, other CEOs who are here represented, and then of course, the gallant men of the armed forces. distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here today, representing the organized private sector, professional bodies who drive the national development of Nigeria. And I'd like to thank everybody who's come here today, because indeed, we are all stakeholders in the national development of Nigeria. And I'd just like to mention that NITDA has continually made efforts in shaping the future of our country through digital empowerment. And on that note, I'd like to thank the Federal Republic of Nigeria, under the leadership of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for all that he's doing under the Renewed Hope agenda to ensure digital inclusivity and the growth of the digital ecosystem. On that note, I'll say good morning, everyone, and God bless you all.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the crux of the matter, and it is with great pleasure and honor that I respectfully request the presence of our special guest of honor, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency, Senator Kashim Shettima Mustafa, GCON, for his special address. You're welcome, sir.
Kindly sit down, please. Kindly take your seats. A square peg in a square hole, the Honorable Minister of Communications, Innovation, and Digital Economy, my very good brother, my friend, Dr. Boson Tijani. The Director General, CEO, National Information Technology Development Agency, Kashifu Inua Abdullahi. The Executive Vice Chairman, Nigerian Communications Commission, Dr. Aminu Wada. The National Commissioner and CEO of the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, Dr. Vincent Olatunji. The Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission, Professor Abdullahi Yusuf Ribadu. The President, Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Margaret Aina Oguntala. Engineer Aina, go and sit on that seat. You should occupy a front line seat, please. The Managing Director of Galaxy Blackburn, Professor Ibrahim Adeyanju. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, representative of service chiefs and heads of paramilitary agencies present, other heads of government agencies and extra-ministerial departments, senior government officials, esteemed delegates, most especially I've seen my very good childhood friend, Engineer Kabir Wanori. Members of the post estate of the Rim, honored guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. If there's any shortcut through which we can catch up with the developed economies, it lies in digital innovation. We are endowed with one of the world's most vibrant pools of talent, and the success of our race with the rest of the world can only be guaranteed by us. This is why I'm honored to witness this gathering of stakeholders ready for the task before us. And I'm extremely delighted that I'm in the midst of some of the brightest minds in Nigeria. And when you get things right, from the Honorable Minister to the heads of agencies under his canopy, they are all square pegs in square holes, and they are eminently qualified. And for the Honorable Minister, he grew up in that ecosystem. He knows his onions, he eats his onions, and he's a very versatile professional. And we cannot keep lamenting our absence at the table in the previous industrial revolutions. This digital web offers us a redemptive opportunity, an opportunity to define on our own terms in the next chapter of global progress. 5 out of the 9 unicorns in Africa are in Nigeria. Web, Money Point, to name but a few. And believe me, some of the upcoming giants are equally from this part of the world. And at the forefront of this ambition stands a man of 1,000 visions, the progressive leader we are fortunate to have as president of this beloved nation, at a time that demands reformers and patriots, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, the uncertainties of the global economy, shocks, shifting alliances, and the rapid displacement of traditional jobs by emerging technologies have compelled us to act boldly. Our economic reforms are stabilizing the ship, and I am proud to share that these reforms have inspired investor confidence and earned us applause from independent observers. From Fitch, which upgraded Nigeria's sovereign rating to be with a stable outlook, to Moody's, which lifted our issuer rating to B3 with a stable outlook. The world is taking note of our steady progress. This is our motivation to stay on course. Digital innovation offers us the highway to reach our destination. It is not only a youth-led sector, it is the very future of our shared humanity. It is the sustainable and inclusive answer to our quest for relevance, opportunity, and transformation. What this administration achieved is to end the regimes of volatility and unpredictability that once defined our economy. The pace before us now is to ensure that these macroeconomic gains trickle down to the people, from the kiosks of our neighborhood traders to the boardrooms of our multinational corporations. We do what we have done because we can no longer apply 20th century solutions to 21st century problems. That is why I'm excited about the aim of this gathering, an affirmation of innovation for a sustainable digital future that accelerates growth, inclusion, and global competitiveness. This vision aligns perfectly with our economic reform agenda, because the future we are building is one where the young Nigerian takes the front seat, sits at the decision-making table, and has a voice in shaping our destiny. The language of our long-term stability is digital. However, if we must move beyond the quick wins of simple applications to building deep tech solutions that address foundational challenges in agriculture, health, logistics, and governance, we must set our priorities right. We need a digital ecosystem that works as seamlessly in Lagos as it does in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, in Kano, in Gusau, and across every corner of our nation. The digital success we seek is one where the farmer in Koranamboda can access real-time market data to sell his harvest at a fair price, while a young woman in Oguta can work remotely for a global company because she has connectivity and the skills to compete. And by the testimony of the Honorable Minister of Communications, we are on the road to that destination. That is inclusive growth President Bola Ahmed Tinubu ambitions. The highest investment by the World Bank in the digital space is here in Nigeria. And none of us here is unaware of the ongoing diversification of our economy. But where other sectors point to physical monuments as proof of their progress, yours is proven by your sheer presence. Every startup here is a note of diversification. Every line of code written by our developers is a new export product. Every piece of intellectual property created by our brilliant minds is a new national asset. You, the innovators, as the engine that will drive Nigeria away from overdependence on finite resources and towards an infinite one, which is human creativity. Yet, even the most powerful engine needs fuel. This is the role we have chosen to play on this flight to the future. Our strategy rests on three pillars: people, infrastructure, and policy. On people, we are building a holistic pipeline of digital talent, integrating digital literacy into school curricula, promoting inclusion through the Digital Literacy for All initiative to digitize the informal sector, and developing world-class expertise through the 3 million technical talent program. On infrastructure, we are constructing the broadband superhighway that powers a digital economy. Through projects like Bridge and 774, we are ensuring high-speed connectivity so that a startup in Gusau enjoys the same access as one in Abuja or Lagos. On policy, we are creating an enabling environment that encourages innovation. The success of our cashless reforms has positioned Nigeria as one of the most dynamic fintech ecosystems in the world. And now we are opening the next frontier. We are in the advanced stage of passing the National Digital Economy and E-Governance Bill into law. I want you to understand the magnitude of this step. Just as the cashless policy unlocked the fintech revolution, this new bill will unlock the GovTech revolution, an era of smarter governance, greater transparency, and inclusive service delivery. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the government cannot achieve this without you, the pillar of our digital economy, our youth, the live wire of our nation, the blood of our country. You are the innovators, the disruptors, the dreamers who turn possibilities into progress. On this note, it is my honor and privilege to cherish forever to declare open the Digital Nigeria International Conference and Exhibition 2025. I wish all participants productive deliberations and look forward to the transformative outcomes that will emerge from this engagement. Thank you, and God bless us all.
Thank you for applauding him. I will ask to applaud a second louder time, but Your Excellency, you really can't leave at this moment. Right, step down and wait for the dignitaries. I plead with you, sir, for photographs. Thank you very much. He will be joined now by the VIPs right in front, the gentlemen from the Armed Forces, the Directors General, members of Parliament who are here. Please join the Vice President for group photographs. We don't have a lot of space, just this group that I have mentioned. Members of the Diplomatic Corps can join. If there's anyone representing a state governor, you can join as well. So we can do a second line at the back. If the first line gets too long, we can do a second row at the back. Excellent, excellent. And after the photograph, I would enjoin everyone in the audience to please remain seated. Please remain seated. Do not leave with the Vice President, I beg of you. The next item will be, after the photographs, will be the VP's inspection of the exhibition stand. He'll be led by the Director General of NITDA, just the two of them. As the photograph is about running off, I'll ask that we cue the national anthem. We'll take it in just a few seconds to round off the opening ceremony formally. The Nigerian national anthem at this time. Nigeria. Thank you, everyone. I will ask you to please assume your seats. Only the Vice President, the Director General, and a few of his entourage can step out at this time. Please don't go. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. Please remain seated. You can watch the exhibition tour on the screen.